Folks, getting some breaking news in now. We got a decision on that baseless lawsuit brought by Trump-hating New York Attorney General Letitia James against the Trump Organization. New York judge has just ruled in favor of James, saying that President Trump committed fraud and deceived banks and insurers by overhauling his assets and exaggerating his net worth on loan applications. Letitia James says Trump must pay a $250 million fine. Joining us now with reaction is president of Judicial Watch and author of A Republic Under Assault, Tom Fitton. Tom, always great to see you. You know, I'm sure President Trump's going to appeal this, but what do you make of the whole case, the fact that these charges were even brought to begin with?
Well, this was a political investigation and prosecution of Trump prior to the criminal charges that were brought by James' Democratic ally, Alvin Bragg, and then obviously the Biden administration. And it's no surprise the judicial system in New York is anti-Trump. He's a successful businessman, and the idea that any of these banks or anyone else was deceived by Trump's financial statements, to me, just is unbelievable. And so the summary finding by the judge is going to be a problem for President Trump in this litigation. But it's, again, most people rightly discount these investigations. And frankly, the politicized nature of the judiciary isn't helping reassure people that justice is being fairly administered. And I think politically this is just going to be another blip for Trump as he, proceeds with the campaign.
Yeah, let's turn to some more politicization on the federal level. Senator Bob Menendez, his own party is asking him to resign. There are those of us who know the history here. Menendez has been on the outs since not going along with all of the Obama's anti-American agenda. And given the abusive, crooked conduct of the DOJ in the last decade, should Americans be very leery of jumping to conclusions here on Menendez?
Well, the problem with having a corrupted and compromised Justice Department, you can't, trust them to prosecute anyone in the political system without asking the question of who benefits, right? And in the case of Menendez, he has a long record of scandalous behavior, to put it mildly, and he's been on the target of the Justice Department for some time. And as I've noted previously, typically he would be part of that protected class, like Hunter and Joe, whose comparative corruption makes Menendez's alleged corruption seem really quite trivial, and in terms of money and other misconduct. But because, as you noted, that Menendez is not exactly on board with the radical agenda, certainly in foreign policy with respect to Cuba and Iran, he didn't have many friends in the Obama administration, and certainly doesn't have any friends in the Biden administration. And my question for the Democrats calling on him to resign now is, what did he have to do in order to get you to call on him to resign? Is it only criminal prosecutions? There's all sorts of other evidence of misconduct by Menendez that I would have thought would have caused some discomfort in the Senate, but their ethics committee blessed him previously. So now all of a sudden he's a bad guy. And what better way to distract from Biden corruption than to go after a Democrat who is no friend of the regime in terms of their foreign policy agenda?
I've said it quite often. Thank God for Judicial Watch because of all the great work you do. And it relies on something that we Americans call free speech. According to a recent poll from Real Clear Opinion Research, 1/3 of registered Democrats believe that Americans, quote, have too much freedom to speak freely. Tom, free speech is a bedrock principle of being an American. And I've often said that these pro-China Democrats no longer wish to continue being Americans. Didn't this group of Democrats just kind of prove my point?
Well, I mean, just look at the Biden administration, and you've got a multi-billion-dollar effort to suppress free speech. It's not only the Biden administration abusing the powers of government to censor Americans by the tens of millions. You have these allied outside left-wing groups and academic forces also all geared towards suppressing speech. You have the European Union geared towards suppressing speech. It's a transnational effort to suppress people's freedom of thought and freedom of speech. And those of us who oppose it we're far and few between in terms of the being able to fight back. And thankfully, the courts have kind of tried to restrain the Biden administration, but there's still too much censorship. And the First Amendment has never before, at least in modern American history, been under as much attack as it is now under the Biden administration.
Yeah, by Americans. Tom Fitton, thank you very much. I always appreciate the good work you do in the visit.